A reverse harem bodyguard.
A reverse harem.
It's a hair. It's, like a female. It's like an IU with like 10 bodyguards.
Yes.
And what if they each work and she just calls them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Like they each have a name.
There's 7 of them.
Oh my god, why don't we just write one called like 7 days a week?
7 days a week, and Jungkook can do the OST.
There we go.
Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight. We're Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hello, Megan.
Hi, Leah.
So today the band is not all together again. I had somebody write today and was like, I'm so happy the band's back together, but...
I know, and now we're breaking up again just for a week. And
just for a week. So look, here's the thing, is it's back to school season, and back to school nights are coming in hard and fast. So tonight is Amy's kids' back to school night. So she's holding it down, single mom, going out to get to do the fun fill. I've got 2 back to school. Let me, I wanted some pity.
Okay, go ahead. I'm prepared to give it to you.
Tomorrow is my birthday, and there are 2 back to school nights tomorrow.
No.
Like, this is the curse of being born on August 31st, because also when I was little, my birthday was the first day of school, like at least every 3 years.
Oh,
so I know.
Thanks back to school.
Parents for like having sex on New Year's Eve 9 months ago.
And back to school nights. So, and I know your kids are like older too. So like back to school nights now for me are just like hell, because the school is hot and you're just surrounded by like middle schoolers with body odor. And it's just the worst, right? Like the hallways are packed and I just don't want to do it. And when Amy said, oh yeah, I have, the back to school nights for my kids, I was like, I better look up the dates for mine, because I don't even have them in my calendar. So thanks to Amy, my personal life is a little bit more sorted, because I actually wrote it down on my calendar. It's rough. I mean,
well, she did call us out today and said, I have to look after my own 2 kids. I don't have time to look after the 2 of you.
She said she called us her virtual children.
It was because I'm very bad at writing down. I change our podcast passwords all the time and never write them down or tell anyone.
Yeah, don't try to break in. Because you know what? You won't guess our password because we don't even know the password.
Yeah. If you ever want to hack us, let me tell you, good luck. That's my security system. Is being like, I actually don't know. Oh my goodness. But Amy. You know what? This is going to be short banter, because I want to get into what we're talking about today. Because you know what? Excited. Amy's in a forced proximity situation with us.
Poor Amy. She is in a forced proximity, virtual world with us all the time.
She can't escape. She may want otherwise, but she is now stuck with us. Well, you know what? Here is a little bit of more banter. I uploaded our pod last night, because it was my first life. And it was either like 164 or 168 in terms of podcasts. And I was like, that's a lot of podcasts.
Dude, every time I look at the number, I'm like, did we really release that many episodes?
I'm like, is this my life's work?
Right.
Like someday will my great grandchildren be like, to know me better.
Right. Wouldn't that have been crazy though? Okay, so when I was a kid, first of all, my mom was a teacher. Mm-hmm. So just so you get an idea of what kind of personality she is. And my parents were just always parents. I don't know how else to, they weren't my friends. I mean, now they're my friends, but I definitely had parents who were parents,
yes.
The leaders.
Yes, me too.
And how weird would it have been? If my mom had a podcast? How wild would that have been? Where I could hear her talk about
being a human.
Bigfoot come.
I can guarantee you my mom doesn't like to talk to people on a good day. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't think it would have been as successful. I don't think she would have a lot of air to fill.
But I'm just like, what if I had an insight into like my mom's...
If your mom could do a podcast, what do you think her theme would be?
Honestly, my mom is so into yoga.
Ooh.
And tea. You know what my mom is actually really good at is self-care. I'm serious.
Like
my mom is really good at taking care of herself. Like when it comes to like her health and everything, I think she would do like an amazing like self-care podcast. Yeah, she does yoga, she drinks her tea. I mean, she's just such a boomer.
Yeah, but that's very like centered. I mean, I'm trying to think what my mom would do.
What about
my mom would do
or
a
your
podcast.
dad?
Okay, my dad. Whew, that's a completely different personality. So you threw me.
Yeah.
My dad would do like a how to win friends and influence people. So my mom defines, my mom is the definition of not only introvert, but also maybe like misanthrope. Like it would be fine to like never deal with people in the world. Like she knows like us and loves us. Right. But beyond that, she's like not that invested.
She's not into humanity.
I mean, not in a way that like,
human race.
Well, growing up, I wouldn't say that like she's going to listen to this. I hope it doesn't hurt. Sometimes they listen to me when they're on walks.
Oh, that's so
they
cute.
do. This isn't meant to be. Okay, well, here's the thing that she will know is that when we were in high school, I gave her a birthday gift that I thought was funny. It really hurt her feelings. I gave her a stuffed taxidermied blowfish and said, "This reminds me of you."
Oh my God. What are my feelings?
And she was very upset. But now it hangs up in the laundry room and it's like a happy reminder. But my dad is like very much like he was in sales. He's like, shaking hands and making friends and, connected dots. So,
well, it's fun. I feel like our dads would get along. Like, So one of the things I remember from my childhood is bookshelves of Dale Carnegie books.
Yeah, my dad is like a big Who moved my cheese is my dad. I don't know who moved my cheese. What color is my parachute? All those kind of books.
Yeah. My dad loves that stuff too. But he was huge Dale Carnegie. I feel like they would get along really well. We should get them. We should get them together sometime.
That would be fun. Okay,
did they drink wine?
Oh, my dad likes to drink wine.
Okay, but so do my parents.
That could be fun. What about Neil? If Neil could do a podcast.
Oh my God. Actually, honestly, right now it might be about running. He just that's his like big thing. He does tons of research, and especially now that my son, my 12-year-old son, is doing like cross country. So now Neil is like even more into it because he's like now researching stuff for Dane.
He's running his way to be Dane's brother. How to run your way to be your own son. It
still comes up. And I'm like, what about Nick? Would Nick do birds? Nick would... How to kill a chicken. How to euthanize a chicken.
Look, honestly, I feel like he should. I think that would be a good goal for him. I feel like lately there's been a lot of dooming about climate change in our home from him. And so what I'm afraid of is he would just do the what's it all matter? climate
amazing
changes come for us all, and I don't know if that would be like up. I would be like, what's the hopeful stories and how we can live within these trying times? Instead, it's like, why do we bother?
El Nino's coming. El Nino's. I literally just like watched a YouTube video, and I just now at 40 learned the difference between El Nino and El Nina.
So I can't remember because it's one thing in the upper hemisphere or the northern hemisphere, and it's another thing. And this should, if Nick ever heard this, it would cause him great disappointment because he talks about both all the time. I forget which one makes it wet and which one makes it dry.
Basically, yeah. So,
but which one? Which one's El Nino, dry or wet?
Well, I think it depends where you live. Okay. Like for you, El Nino, I think makes it dry for you. Like for me, it's going to be completely different.
Okay.
Because we live 3 time zones away.
Okay.
Which is wild to me.
So that being said, I think that would be what his podcast would be. Whereas I would be more like prepping with joy.
You would. You'd be so good at that. Oh my God.
I should do a whole podcast on how to prep without bullets. Because I used to look for that. Oh my God, this is like the brand I needed. I was like, how do I be in the prepper lifestyle and not want to like carry a gun?
Right. Yeah,
because I feel like
I just want to jar some shit.
Yeah, I mean, I want to survive. Look, if the shit's going down, everyone thinks they're going to be shooting. No, it's the people who've got the food and are like laying low. No one, you run around with a hail of bullets, you're going down.
Right?
You want to be in the cave with your black bean stew.
I've watched The Purge.
Yeah. There's nothing good with, you know, you can have like your whole arsenal. I'm like, what are you going to do? Anyway, yeah. That's a soapbox.
The people who are surviving are the ones who have the granola bars.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe just go for a hike and figure out how to forge some shit better. But, you know. Anyway, soapbox for another. That was my old hobby before K-drama and BTS.
I mean, we all have our hobbies. I mean, my hobbies last like a day. I mean, I did macrame for like a solid 2 days. And I was really into it for like 2 days. My hobbies are short-lived. This is the
why
K-drama hobby.
Yeah, same.
This is amazing for me. I'm a known quitter of things. And no need to fear, though. Like, because again, Amy...
No, because this is forced proximity.
Exactly.
We're stuck together.
And also, you guys are stuck with me now.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like this just is happening. We're going to do this until we get to at least 1,000.
Right. Yeah, I want that number to be big of episodes. But anyway, so I think we made enough segues, sort of, or enough.
Yeah, we kept segueing back to what our topic is tonight. So why don't you take it away and let everyone know what we're talking about?
Yeah, which I'm really excited. I just want to say this was your idea, and I'm glad. And it came up.
Well, it came up because you said you loved it.
Yeah, it came up
actually
because...
your idea.
True. It came up because this is my first life podcast, how much I love this trope. So one thing the Afternoonas all have in common is that we love the old trusty never fail romance trope of forced proximity. Anytime a plot forces the two main leads to spend time together, that's forced proximity, and it can take many forms. An article by Jessica Avery on Book Riot summed up what makes this trope so appealing. Quote, the forced proximity trope takes two people who should logically never fall in love and removes them from their, quote, known world. Sometimes this means physically relocating them, and other times it simply means creating enough of a disturbance in their daily lives or routines that they are sufficiently disoriented. It's all about the disorientation, shaking up the norm until the characters are enabled to fall in love despite everything that might otherwise separate them. The means by which the disorientation takes place, however, is entirely up to the creativity of the author. It's expansive and flexible, and it creates a situation both freeing and ephemeral. The leads have the freedom to fall in love, but there's always this clock ticking down above their heads, reminding them that the real world is waiting. And I just really liked that description. I don't know. What do you like? Do you like that? Do you like what she has to say? I love the disorientation bit. I thought it was a good way to sum up the trope.
Yeah, I like it. And I think that for romance, what's fun about it is, you know, big separations can be very romantic and very fun in romance, but, you know, that shoved together kind of like we can't escape whatever the situation is I just feel like it always is going to be enjoyable, because when you're signing up for the romance, you're signing up to watch the dynamic of two people having to fall in love. So the more you're keeping them in each other's orbit, much of the time it's working to our advantage, as like both like a writer, because you come up with more funny reasons, or sad, whatever kind of reasons, happy, sad, whatever, to keep them together. And as a reader, it keeps you with like the couple on the page, where a lot of times in romance reading, you're like, I just want the couple, you know, like, you know, there's B stories and other plots that like the story's taking you to kind of like go on the journey. But like, you know, you're looking for the times that the characters are connected. And in a show, you're looking for the times that they're like with each other.
Yeah. I mean, it's oftentimes when I'm reading a book where sometimes there's like, you know, I don't know, getting from point A to point B, or sort of, that like B story. But I'm always like, okay, but when are they going to be alone? Like, when are you going to get them together, force them to spend time together, and either like confront their feelings or get to know each other? Either way, like I'm always waiting for that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess, we can talk about why we like forced proximity. I mean, for me, it's I love relationships that flourish without outside influence, which the article kind of touches on that. So forced proximity trope just comes with lots of alone time. That's just like the nature of the trope. And like the Book Riot article says, it often involves taking the characters out of their comfort zones. They find themselves having to rely on each other. And in a way, they're like testing each other's mettle. Like, what better way to see a partner's responsibility and ethics than being forced to work on a group project with them? Mm-hmm. I just feel like there's always something that goes along with forced proximity that also like makes you like that other, like it gives that other character a reason to show who they are and what they can do. And I guess on a base level, like why they would make a good partner.
Yeah, like the competency is very attractive.
Yes.
I am a competency junkie. Like when people talk about like ideal types, like I never have a physical type, but I do have a competency. Like if I just see somebody really good at something, I don't care. Like unless it's like something real bad, like unless you're really good at murdering, but like if you're really good at whatever, usually I just love watching people do what they're good at. Like, I don't even care if it's a professional eater. Like, there is a professional eater on YouTube. I'm serious. His name is Matt Stoney, and I know it sounds gross because he's eating like pounds and pounds of food, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hot, but he's so good at it. I think that I'm going to probably say that's not something I align with. I'm not going to yuck your yum. I do appreciate that there's a talent to it, and I don't understand elements of it.
Yeah.
No for me. But I would watch somebody do only liver surgeries.
Yes, you would.
Remember when you were like in a hospital playlist, you're like 10 out of 10, too many liver surgeries. And I was like, like the best. I was like, sign me up. I'll just sit and watch liver surgeries all day.
You're like, no, hospital playlist needs 10 times
more operating rooms.
More operating rooms.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of like wrote down a bunch of different reasons that they're popular.
Yeah, I like it.
And so we don't have to go through all of them, but let's talk about some. So one is just like you had alluded to, like the intense emotion. So if they're in close proximity, there's usually some sort of like pressure cooker environment. Not always, but usually there's some sort of like stakes that are like putting them together. And so there can be more intense connection, and they often might have to rely on each other for, support. Also, again, the character development, like you also alluded to, which is basically you might see them in new ways and learn new things about them. Peel back the layers of the onion, so to speak. Obviously conflict, but, also the potential for chemistry. And then also it's that idea of it. And I think this is one thing I really like about it is that there's a sense of that escapism and fantasy. And that was kind of what the quote touched on as well, which is the fact that you're taking them out of their comfort zone, right? So you're putting them into a different type of setting. And that also just makes it interesting and fun sometimes. And so, again, like, there's so many... We're going to also talk about the many different types of forced proximity in a while. And so not all forced proximity is wildly escapist and romantic, like us podcasting together for the next foreseeable decade and a half. But, it could be... I was considering not having a shirt on when we signed in because it's so hot here. I was like, well, make him be bothered if I'm just in my bra because I'm really hot. I figured no, but then I thought my son might come home and he would be disappointed to see that. So I decided not to. Okay, then like also slow burn because again, you've got that like slow kind of like you're coming together in this space, and often it can be just like, that slow ratcheting up of connections. And I'm just going to skip to, let's see. I'm going to skip to the one that I like too, which is just like there's a lot of scope for variety and creativity. Like as a writer, if somebody's like, write me 10 or 15 forced proximity ideas, each one would be totally different because the possibilities are endless. Like it's like, are we doing a snowed in winter avalanche, or are we doing you're stuck on the moon, or are we doing, there's many different, we're in a war zone. Like each one would be a totally different story.
Right.
So that being said, have you ever written forced proximity romance?
So, yeah, this is, I went for like one of my weirdest ones. I've written a lot of forced proximity because I really like it. And under Ella Maven, my alien books, almost all of them are a form of forced proximity, because that's what I like it. I think my readers like it, and that's what they expect from me now. Where, you know, I have like a human woman who's like somehow marooned with an alien man somewhere on this, you know, other planet. But the one that I wrote, which I did really like, is called The Aliens Escape. But basically, it was a human woman, and she was imprisoned in an underground laboratory with an alien male, and they're like, the enemy aliens were experimenting on them and also trying to get them to breed. I know this is what I do, but I loved it because they had to like, obviously the goal is to escape. Like they're not gonna, you know, allow their babies to be used by these enemy aliens. And so they had to be resourceful. They had to get to know each other. They were stuck in this like four-walled, you know, room with no windows, and so they got to know each other.
Sex chamber.
Yeah, I mean, they were literally in a pressure chamber, but I really liked writing that one. It was a lot of fun. That
is fun. And I'm interested.
Yeah, so
you had me at forced breeding program. I don't know why.
I mean, yeah, it was
sell me in a nutshell. I was like, got me.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a literal, like, one that I feel like I use elements of it a lot. Like, I've had a lot of, like, neighbors and stuff like that. But one that just kind of jumped out at me that was, like, 100%, like, really that's, like, the most part of it. It was in an anthology called Snowbound at Winter. And so it's 3 forced proximity stories dealing with being snowbound. It was with Avon. And I did Hot Winter's Night. So, you know, basically it was part of my Brightwater series, and it was a returning soldier and I think a florist, if I can remember right. I think her name was Goldie, yes, for Marigold, because she was a florist, just coming back to me. It's funny how you, like, forget your books. I couldn't remember the name of the book. I had to go look it up, because I'm like, what was the name of that book?
I did have to, like, I'd look back and, like, well, what's kind of, like, my best forced proximity? I mean, I do have one where they're snowed in together. That was like a holiday alien
and so this
story.
is a holiday one too. This was holiday Christmas. No aliens. But the one I like the best, which is pretty simple, is Best Worst Mistake. And that is my very close retelling to Beauty and the Beast, which also has elements of, I mean, Beauty and the Beast is its own trope, but there's a forced proximity element to it as well. And so she ends up, you know, trying to, you know, I even have like a crazy old Maurice. Like,
do you really? I love it.
I do. Her dad goes wandering from the nursing home, and the hero picks him up. The hero is, you know, she's a bookshop owner. Oh yeah, that's the thing. She's a bookshop owner because it's Belle. I'm remembering bits of it now. And she has a delivery. She has to do book deliveries to this mysterious address because she's never, like, met the guy. And he is, remember, he was my smoke jumper who got burned while helping protect the fawn, the baby deer.
Right.
And so he kind of, like, lives out in the woods, and he's an avid reader, so he doesn't want to go in and, like, be seen. So he puts in these orders for the books. And so that's, like, whatever. But anyway, she goes to get her dad back, and I think there's, you know, a storm and other things, and they end up being, like, stuck in together too. It's like, I think I really love the Snowbound. I will do Snowbound anytime.
Who doesn't?
Yeah,
it's such a good forced proximity.
All right. Well, what about any books you haven't written but you really love that are forced proximity?
So I am really mad because I cannot remember the name of the book that I am thinking about.
Very helpful.
I know. And I'm, like, so mad, and I'm like, should I even bring it up? But I am going to try to find it and then put it in the show notes. That's going to be my goal.
Okay, or maybe a reader will hear it and be like, I know that book, and we'll share it out.
Yeah, it was a gay romance, and basically it was these 2 men who were in a train, like, derailing, okay? And, like, everyone died, but somehow they were kind of, like, secluded in this small area of the train. And they were stuck together, and it was completely dark. So they could barely see each other, but they had to kind of, like, one of them was, like, injured, but they were, like, looking through people's bags for food and water because they had to survive. They were like, they knew that help would come. But I love the idea that it was like dark and they could barely see each other. So they always had to hold hands if they went anywhere because they couldn't lose each other. So there was this element of like they always had to be touching. And then there was this element of like the fact that they were competent or they had to be competent. And then in order to like fill the time, they would talk about themselves. And there was also this ticking clock where they were like, maybe we'll never be rescued. And so they both were kind of like, maybe this is it. And so they were a little bit more free with their words than they normally would be. And it was so good. I loved it. And, you know, then things happen, and I don't even want to give a spoiler because I am going to find the freaking title, and I'm going to put it in the show notes because it's a really good book, and it was actually a really good series. So I will find it, and I'll put it there.
I think that's super fun. And it also reminds me loosely, we're going to talk a little bit more about a drama that features this trope heavily. I've seen it in a few BLs now of being handcuffed together, just having to hold hands.
Yes.
Sometimes I've seen it when you accidentally get handcuffed together.
Oh, yeah. I love that.
So I put down 2. They're very different. Because again, I just kind of wanted, I think what's fun today is just to talk about the huge variety, because I think that this is one of the tropes that has the most possibilities.
Oh my gosh, that's why it's so great.
Endless ways to skin this cat. So,
oh my God, yeah.
So I'm going with 2 that are vastly different. The first is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. And this got made into a show. I actually haven't watched the show, or not a show, like a movie, but I really love the book. And essentially the forced proximity dynamic, it's also an office romance. I think those go well together in tropes because you're often like forced to work with someone. So in this case, it was 2 assistants, enemies to lovers, forced proximity. And that's the other thing is I think most of the time, it's rare that you're going to see a forced proximity on its own. I mean, it's rare you see any tropes on its own, but usually forced proximity is part of, you're going to layer that in with a couple of these other tropes.
You bet.
And so that one's fun though. And then the one that I wanted to talk about a little more just because it's wild. And is it a romance? Yeah. It's like women's fiction with romantic elements.
Right. I was pretty into this romance though.
I was too. So On the Island, Tracey Garvis Graves.
So
the
good.
Premise of the island, or the premise of the book is, I think it's Mauritius. Like basically it's a person who's a private teacher for a young boy, not a boy in high school, who's a cancer survivor. And so he hasn't been able to be in like regular school with his treatments and things like that, but he's like in recovery, and the family's wealthy and they're going to like some, bungalow on the ocean. It's been a long time since I've read this, so if I get it wrong.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
like 10 years or something. And anyway, they're going out to meet the family in the Indian Ocean, and their plane obviously goes down. So they get trapped. The thing I love so much that she does, because it's just like, it was just such perfect, like whatever, is that her suitcase with all her toiletries and razors washes up on the island. So she is freshly shaven. And I guess she stocked up, like apparently she really stocked up for this. So she has a lot of shampoo, a lot of shaving. I just thought that was really like a funny detail to throw into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
they're there for years.
Years. So basically he comes of age.
Yeah, he comes of age. And because when they crash, he has braces. So there's actually a whole scene where he removes his braces himself.
And she's not into him when they land. Like, it's not a romantic situation. She's like probably like early 20s, kind of like a fresh young teacher. And he's like the kid she's teaching. But she's not like looking at him in that way.
That's why it's so good, because it goes from this like completely, like essentially their relationship starts to shift, because she's almost like a mother to him, and then it completely shifts because he's like he becomes a man, and then it takes a while before they go into the romance. But it's a great book.
But they're like on the island for like 5 years, maybe. Like it's a very long time.
Yeah, like he comes back a completely different person.
Yeah, I mean he comes back
she
like
does too, but
like maybe he was like 16 when it happened, and he comes back and he's like 21, and she's like 30 or something like that. Like I don't know, but it's something like there's a big enough age difference, but it's not like a predatory weird age difference.
No, and they address it in the book. Yeah, and they're like, when did this relationship start?
The parents are very pissed when they come back and he's like, this is my woman, and they're like, the fuck you say, that's the teacher.
So It's so great.
Yeah.
We just spoiled the whole book, but that's okay.
But it leans in on those things of like, the shared experiences, making them fall in love, the escapism and fantasy. They're on like a freaking tropical island with a suitcase full of expensive toiletries, intense
it completely
emotions.
takes them out of their own world.
Yep. Character development. So, we've got it all. So it's, I still think read it. It's a
This wasn't in the script, but what tropes do you think that you can layer with forced proximity that like go so well? Because I guess what I'm saying, I would say first of all, enemies to lovers. I think that's the most
I was just
common.
going to say that was the first thing I was going to say.
Yeah, the most common trope that you can layer with forced proximity, because obviously it's like those two would never ever be alone together in any other situation because they're enemies. So the fact that you like force them together and make them also confront the reasons they don't like each other, because a lot of times the reasons they don't like each other is like maybe like a weird sexual tension that's like
of course
manifesting into like irritation or whatever.
Yes. And then
I think
I'm going to go with office romance, because I just think that like, again, they don't like each other. They're forced together, but what's the reason? We could do a very big high stakes world ending kind of conflict, but it could also just be like, you just have to be in the same office building as this person or on the same job in some way. And that is a perennial trope.
And I would actually say friends to lovers is really good with this too, because I think friends to lovers, there's maybe never a reason that they have to spend that much alone time together. And also I think the forced proximity trope makes them see each other in a different light, especially if it's like completely out of their element. Like
this
say
reminds
they are
me,
transported.
Yes, sorry to jump in, but this reminded me of
island.
Amy. Sorry, I just talk right over you.
It reminded you of Amy?
Yeah, because Amy wrote that book, The One Who Got Away, and it's the best friends, and they do a road trip. So it's forced proximity because they're in a road trip in the car, and they're two best friends, and then they fall in love in like, so again, like a road trip is a great forced proximity. And then you had Trust the Focus.
Oh, I had a road trip. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that was friends to lovers,
forced
and
proximity.
That was the same thing. Forced proximity. They were doing a road trip in like a camper.
Yes.
Huh. Look at you remembering our books.
I know. Look at, I'm such a fan.
You are. Okay, I'm sure we'll think of some, because now is the point where we're going to get into some drama examples. That's why you're all here, right? You want to hear us talk about the K-dramas.
Should we, before we get into ours, should we read off? We have some from the Patreon of just people saying their favorite. Do that. So let's do some of those.
Yeah, a lot of people said some really good ones. I was reading through them earlier today.
Okay, so yeah, I think
and actually one's, well, it was funny because some people commented, because I had like went through the script and like wrote stuff down, and it was funny because some of the dramas they mentioned, they even like worded it like I did, like they were on the same page, I think, as a lot of our patrons.
Well, I'll skip some of the ones that we repeat, because I see some of the ones that we repeat that come back over and over, and like there's a couple that we get into, so I'll leave those. Okay, so one is let's see. Okay, here's one. So much forced proximity goodness and strong woman Do Bong Soon sharing the office, cohabitation, but my favorite is when she's acting as his bodyguard and does a princess carry, which is amazing. Like, so she has to carry Park Hyung-sik, like, and rescue him because she's the bodyguard. Yeah. So bodyguard is automatic forced proximity.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best.
Yes. So one that you haven't seen yet, but it's very good and it's not a big spoiler, is the part in King the Land where they end up in a hotel room because of a storm. So they end up on this like island that has like this one janky hotel, and basically the boat captain kind of is like, the boat's broken, I have to take you to this hotel. It's like a total scam, and it's like his mom owns the hotel or whatever. And then when they go in to check in, because they're both like, shit, they don't do a one bed, and we're going to get into the one bed in the forced proximity because I know you like it, but in this case they just put a sheet in the middle of the room and then they have to sleep on the opposite sides of the sheet. So that's kind of funny. Go ahead.
Like this one. Because I actually have forgotten Suspicious Partner. And so the comment says, I don't remember why Ji Chang-wook and Nam Ji-hyun are both living in his house and law office, but I do remember multiple swoony pre-official relationship scenes of one of them falling asleep or being asleep while the other watches over fondly. The sleeping in the other's presence factor is something I love in forced proximity romance. It's a safety, vulnerability, protectiveness thing, and I find it very pleasing. And I was like, oh my God, that you're right. I feel like the falling asleep, seeing people when they're sleeping, that is so much a forced proximity thing. That's just so good.
So Sarah, I'm going to say her name because you were just with her in England. She gives us one and calls us out. I always love to be called out. She's right. She wrote, I'm going to make mine about a drama you guys haven't watched or deep dived, and I don't know why or how it's dropped off your radar because it's sexy, funny, and short, and you'd love it.
Oh my God.
So that drama is Love to Hate You. The female lead is a kick-ass street fighter and a lawyer by day, and the male lead is a movie star who fights too cleanly, so he has to learn to fight more dirty for this gangster he's playing. How have you not watched this?
What? I didn't know that's what it was about.
So lots of forced proximity, great enemies to lovers. She becomes a stunt double on his movie, and then they fake date. Honestly, you have to watch this. And then the second male lead with his beautiful hair is the of villains from Flower of Evil.
Oh my God. Why have I not watched that? I didn't know that was the plot.
Nobody sold you a Street Fighter.
No one sold me. People, listen. If there is a Street Fighter of any type, that's all you have to tell me. And it should be the first thing that comes out of your mouth.
That's all you say.
You're trying. Yeah, that's all you say.
Okay.
I'm going to mention this one because it's not a romance, but it's still a forced proximity relationship that's really well done. So this is, I'm going with my gut, and the first thing that came to mind was Bad and Crazy. And yeah, that whole drama, she says, but in particular the scene where they're trapped in the back of the mail truck, and Kay is so hot, he needs to take his pants off. It's really funny. They're in this, it's, Wee Ha-joon, Lee Dong-wook, and they're, you just gotta watch Bad and Crazy. It's fantastic, if you're listening. But they're like stuck in the back of this mail truck because they were like hiding in there, and then the driver gets in and drives away, and it's so hot, and they are like pressed up against each other, and Kay's like, I'm really hot, I gotta take my pants off, and Lee Dong-wook's like, why do you go right to the pants? Why are you taking your pants off? It's so great. The whole drama is a lot of forced proximity in regards to like their relationship, and it's fantastic. So I'm glad you pointed that out, that because it's not a romance, but it's still a great relationship.
Yeah, totally. So another one is one I always seem to forget about, but absolutely adore, is My Roommate is a Gumio. Did you watch that one?
I did.
So a modern day fantasy where the main characters have to stay close together in case the female lead touches a man who was born in the year of the tiger. And the only cure for the pain is the male lead's touch. Excuse me, sign me up immediately.
Yes. I am so mad that I forgot. I feel like I just don't think of that one. I am so glad someone brought that up because because then they have to live together because she like can't be away from him basically, she'll, because she could die if she touches a man born in the year of the tiger, and also he doesn't want to let her out of her sight because she has his fox speed, so he doesn't want it is really good, and it's absolutely forced proximity because they don't even like each other.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. All right, let's do
good suggestion.
One more. I'm trying to find one that we don't talk about today. I've got one, but if you want to do one, go for it.
No, go ahead.
So this was, somebody watched this recently, but was thinking of Legend of the Blue Sea. Amy's seen this one, but neither you or I have. So you have the female lead who pretty much invites herself to live with the male lead and friends. Sleeps in the attic bedroom, but constantly pokes her head out at the male lead's bedroom below. But the highlight is that he can hear her thoughts. I didn't know this. And she's seriously overthinking every little detail and has this nonstop stream of thoughts running through her head. And sometimes a guy just wants some sleep. I didn't know he could hear her ththoughts in that.
Yeah, Amy mentioned that when she sold it to us.
Oh, well, I wasn't listening. Sorry.
Sorry, Amy.
Sorry.
Oopsie. Oh, well, those are so good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and there's lots more. Honestly, I would read them all, but there's just one thing I really love about our Patreon, if I can do a little side plug, is that it's really fun to see how much engagement there is, and I feel like Honestly, the Patreon's way smarter than us.
Oh my God, they're so smart. That's what I'm saying. Like, some of those, I'm like, I love it. I love going in there and asking a question because I know that they're all going to have amazing responses. Like this, we knew if we asked them about forced proximity, they were going to come up with great dramas, and also some dramas that like we haven't seen. So it's nice to like get a mix.
Now it's time for our favorite part of every episode, which is our K-pop Rec of the Week. And Megan, what do you have for us today?
So this week, interesting enough, I am friends with like a reader of mine that I go way back, and she's a big K-pop fan, and she posted this song on her Instagram story. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because I didn't even realize who it was. It's Stray Kids. And it's their Japanese single, and it's called Social Path. And this song is so freaking good. It's really unlike a lot of their songs that they've done. Like, I was very surprised that it was Stray Kids, also featuring Lisa, not like Blackpink Lisa, just a different Lisa. And I love it. The chorus is great. The video is great. It makes me feel like I can like run through a wall. Like, I don't know. I can like conquer the world. There's I don't know. There's something about it that like drives me forward or whatever. So, I recommend you check it out. It's really great. So it's Stray Kids, and the song is Social Path featuring Lisa.
My daughter really likes that song too. I have to listen to it. There should be no guilt or embarrassment in embracing the things that bring you joy, which is why the podcasts in the Studio Afterglow Network are tailor-made for you. Discover Afternoona Delight, where 3 American writers examine Korean dramas through a writer's lens. Join Afternoona Army, a space for BTS fans over 30 looking for thought-provoking discussions and thirst-inducing content. Delve into the world of fruit with It's Bananas, where the fruit maven shares how tasting new and diverse fruits led to her self-discovery, joy, and connection. For Asian drama enthusiasts seeking answers, we bring you Afternoona Asks, where British Chinese and Korean American hosts dive into all your Asian drama questions, including special episodes under Afternoona Asks ND, where neurodivergent straight talk and representation are prioritized, breaking down ableist perceptions. Studio Afterglow is just beginning, and we promise to keep delivering content that warms your heart and tickles your ears. Embrace your passions, find joy, and let us be your source of unabashed delight.
So, yeah, we're going to go through, so the Book Riot article had a great list of many ways that the trope can play out. So I think we're going to go sort of through that list and then talk about dramas that do these well, or I don't know, maybe not well, like we'll see where the discussion goes. But then obviously we're going to talk about some other ways it's played out in K-dramas as well. Let's talk about some forced proximity tropes. Forced proximity, I guess this would be like the butter of forced proximity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So first up, we have fake relationship, which is what it is.
You are pretending to be involved with someone.
And I mean, look, we just talked about it, but Because This Is My First Life is a very good example.
Yep. And then in that podcast, I also did give a shout out to Fated to Love You, which also has a couple that accidentally gets pregnant and they pretend to be married for various reasons.
Wait, isn't there a BL that's fake relationship?
Well, I'm watching one right now called Wedding Plan.
Oh, and that's it.
So
okay.
In that, there's kind of like the big misunderstanding where it's a wedding planner and he has the hots for the groom, but is like trying to resist, but like the groom's coming on to him and it's like, what does it mean? Like, this is all crazy. And then it turns out that basically the groom is gay. The bride is gay and has a girlfriend and has had a girlfriend for like 12 years, but they're childhood best friends. So they decide, let's get married so that then like our parents will leave us alone and we can like date and be with whoever we want.
Oh, I love that. I have to start it.
It's okay. I'm not loving it.
Okay, so another one is, kind of, this would be definitely mostly office romances, or it's similar to what is always a trope in office romances, which the couple has a job or project together. And I chose Our Dating Sim, which is also a second chance romance, which, by the way, second chance romance is always great with forced proximity, because you have these exes who are like obviously trying to keep their distance, and then something forces them together. The one man gets a job at the other man's company, and then they're like, they're on a very small team, and they have to spend a lot of one-on-one time together. And I really love that drama.
I'm going to go with Descendants of the Sun. So kind of the main conceit of Descendants of the Sun is that we have a soldier whose job it is to take lives, and we have a doctor whose job it is to save lives, and they're both put together in a fictional country of Urk in a wartime environment.
I didn't know it was a fictional country.
Yeah, Urk.
I don't think I ever knew that.
And it's like a country overridden by mercenaries.
Oh, amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
And then we didn't give a shout out, and I'm surprised too. I'm Not a Robot. That's a real work.
I know.
That was her job.
I know. I was trying to be good and not, and not mention it.
Go to your crutch drama.
Go to my crutch drama. But it's true. It's great. Because, they're forced. They have to be together. Because she has to pretend to be a robot in his presence, and he needs her in his presence because he's like testing her technology, even though she's not, but yeah, that is a good one. So another one would be, they have a mutual goal, like bringing down a villain, and they have to work together to achieve it. And I said Lawless Lawyer because that's basically, the romance is very subtle in that drama, but they're both trying to take down the same villain, and that is why they're forced together, because they then work together. He like hires her in his office, which is just a cover for his entire revenge plan.
Yes. And then Mr. Sunshine, they're trying to take down, the colonizers to their country.
Japan?
Yeah. And the U.S. I mean, basically all outside interests that are looking to take away the agency of, their homeland.
Yeah. This is like one of them will die if the other doesn't protect them. So kind of like bodyguard romances. And I said Kin Porsche is a pretty good bodyguard romance. And I wouldn't say it's like the other one will absolutely die, but they are forced together. Porsche plays Kin's bodyguard. And yeah, they have to see each other in a different... They're definitely enemies at the beginning of the drama, but they're forced to see each other differently. And the best is they're handcuffed together.
They do. They get
on the run.
I was thinking, I want to rewatch this drama again. I was watching like some outtakes of it recently, and I'm like, that was just a fun show.
It's the best. And yeah, and the handcuffed together scene where they're like, suddenly they have no clothes on. They're just in their boxers and like a waterfall, like splashing each other with the handcuffs on.
Yep.
Oh God, it's so great.
And then again, low-hanging fruit, but just along those veins, Chloe.
Yeah.
Like he is basically protecting her the whole time she's in Korea, and then even beyond once they get to South Korea from the
that's
mercenary murderousness of the villain who like will stop at nothing.
He travels the tunnel of love to protect her.
Yes, he does. And then, again, I know sometimes we just say like, as much as we can manifest something and speak it into being, when will the universe give us the idol bodyguard? Like, why do we not just have that as all, like, there should just be like one a season.
I'm so irritated. The idols in almost every drama I've watched that has an idol, they're always like second lead. Always. They're always like, I'm so freaking irritated. Like, give me an idol body. Why is that not happening?
Yeah. And I want the whole gamut. Like, I want to have a girl love bodyguard romance.
100%.
I want
a
boy love one. I want a cishet one. I will take a throuple.
Yeah, I'll take anything.
I want the whole, the whole everything.
Like the one bodyguard with the entire group?
A reverse harem bodyguard.
A reverse harem.
It's a hair. It's, like a female. It's like an IU with like 10 bodyguards.
Yes. Oh my God. They each have their own skill set. Like,
God,
one's,
yes.
like, really good at shooting a gun. The
Yes.
other one's, like, really good at taekwondo. They all have their skill sets.
Yes.
And then, IU wears the pants, but she gets to, like, indulge in every bodyguard.
And what if they
Perfect
each
reverse
work,
harem.
and she just calls them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Like, they each have a name?
There's 7 of them.
Oh my God, why don't we just write one called, like, 7 days a week?
7 days a week, and Jungkook can do the
There you go.
OST. Hire us.
Hire Studio
We'll write it.
Dragon.
Yeah.
We are here for the After Dark episodes. Okay.
We are.
So here's one that I could not think of one, which was kidnapping. More like the Stockholm Syndrome, where, like, you fall in love with your kidnapper. Like, this is one that is obviously very problematic. I like it, and it's very hard to find it.
Right. Exactly.
So I did some...
In K-dramas.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's, like, a lot of dark romance for it, but
Right.
I'm picky with it. So I just Googled, basically, like, is there any Stockholm Syndrome in K-drama? And I got 2, but we haven't seen either, so I can't speak to it. So I'm going to leave this to the listener. I heard that Money Heist might have this in, like, a second lead situation.
Okay.
And then to a lesser degree, Snowdrop may, like, touch on it.
That makes sense from what I know of Snowdrop. That actually, I mean, I think he's kind of like undercover, but
Yeah, so we'll see. Okay, so now we're going to get to your absolute favorite of the forced proximities.
my favorite is Only One Bed in the Room. It's my absolute favorite. I love it every time. So I think I'm remembering Fight for My Way right, which is when they check into a hotel. Am I remembering that this is the one where they check into the hotel and they're actually, like, sad that they have to get separate rooms? They're, like, trying to pretend.
They were like, it was like fun that they were trying to be like, but
They were like, but you probably don't have any rooms, right? You probably just have one room with, like, one bed. And the guy's like, we have tons of rooms. And they're like, damn it. It was so funny.
That was really
so
good.
funny. But then they ended up, so of course I love that, because then as a viewer, you're like, damn it, because I want the only one bed. And then they gave you the only one bed because, like, one of them had a bug in their room or something. So they ended up sleeping together, and it was fantastic. And I loved it so much.
So I went with a loose version of this one, which is not a bed, but one beach mat. And this is Coffee Prince. So I'm definitely stretching, but I wanted to give a call out to, them on their one beach mat overnight on the beach.
I mean, they only had one mat.
One mat. They had to snuggle in.
They had to snuggle.
What are you going to do? Sit in the sand and get cold? No.
Like, the amount of times that I have written only one bed in my books, it's a shame. Like, because I've written a lot. Like, it's like, cool out, Megan. This is obviously one of my favorites. This is the cabin, car, or whatever is really small, and they are stuck together there, and their body parts are touching.
There's only one.
You know what?
There's only one winner here.
Only one winner.
And this came up a lot in the Patreon, too.
I was proud of the Patreon, and I was proud of the Patreon because they labeled it correctly. They didn't just say, Reply 1988.
Yeah. What did they say?
You can say it because you're the one who came up with it.
Oh, did I?
Uh-huh.
Boner Alley.
Boner. Like 3 different people on Patreon were like Boner Alley, and I was like, it's like they acted like it's the.
It is. I mean, why call it anything else?
Like the storyboard of the drama is like, well, now we're gonna have Boner Alley. Like,
if you haven't seen Reply 1988, it's worth it for many reasons. Boner Alley comes quick. I think it's by episode 3. You're going to be like, there's a lot of alley. Yeah, there's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of family drama. All of a sudden, you just get into Boner Alley. It's tight. Alley. The cops are after them.
They have to hide in an alley, and stuff is touching. Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Yep, you just get teenage boy in all his glory. Oh, endearing. Okay, so I am a sucker for this. And I mean, like, who isn't? They're snowed in together.
Yeah,
just love it. Oh my god,
the best. Yeah, I again, we've both written it. Honestly, any romance writer who is kind of like written a good amount of books, you've written a snowed in book. You have. Actually, I'd be surprised the amount of romance writers who, kind of publish on a regular basis if they haven't written a Snowden. They probably have.
Yeah.
Or some form of it. I would say too, like natural disaster being stuck together is pretty common. I think K-dramas definitely love to use rain. Like they have to run out of the rain together, and then, but I would say King the Land recently had a really good example of this where they were on a boat and something happened to the boat, and they ended up having to go to this like little island in this tiny little inn
with the one sheet,
with the one sheet separating them, and yeah, and it was great because it forced them to like be together. They then drank together, got drunk together. It was good.
It was really good. And then I'm just going to give a shout out to Boys Over Flowers, which has like some hypothermia, and then like because what's going to get better than it is so cold. We are stuck here. The only thing we can do is take our clothes off to have body heat.
Oh, the best.
So the very first book I ever wrote, which is not good, did not get published, is living on like a Google Drive. I have Forced Proximity. They survive a shipwreck off the coast of Van Diemen's Land, Tasmania, and they have to swim to an island, and they have to go into a cave that was provisioned by sealers. So there's like fur blankets and things like that. And then they have to strip out of their sodden, wet clothes to be warm.
Absolutely. In my alien books, so it's like the one planet that I set my books on is kind of like a war-torn planet. So I strategically have bunkers that have been like dug out. And it's literally someone's job to go around and continuously supply these bunkers. And it's really just an excuse for me to like put my characters down there, and they have food, water, a place to wash, and furs where they have to, like take their clothes off to get under. Like that's literally why I wrote it that way. Isn't there a scene in Meteor Garden?
Yes. I actually threw this in at the end because the thing is that we can talk about it now. Meteor Garden has this because it's the knockoff to Boys Over Flowers. It has the exact same snowed in.
Snowed in.
Hypothermia.
But doesn't he get one of them gets lost, remember? They like wander away from like the main cabin where all their friends are.
Yeah, so they're skiing in Canada.
That's from China.
Yeah. Ski trip that he took her to.
That's it.
And
which one gets lost? One of them gets lost and they leave.
She might get lost and then he goes looking for her. I think that is probably what happens.
But then they can't get back to the cabin,
Correct.
so they have to spend the night in this
other
like
cabin.
Abandoned this other cabin. So it's just them.
Yes,
and they like light this fire. Oh, it's so great.
So the thing with Meteor Garden is that it has every trope.
Everyone.
I mean, we had Stranded on a Desert Island. We have Amnesia.
Yeah. Oh, forgot Amnesia. Yeah.
We have
Snowden.
Enemies to Lovers. Yeah. We have Forced Proximity. We have Bully.
A starvation pact. Bullying.
Starvation pact.
Not a pact. A starvation. What is it?
I will die for you.
Well, no, where he's like, I will starve.
Yeah.
If you don't let me out to see her or something like that.
Like the separated, like Romeo and Juliet lovers, like separation, forced separation, evil mother, poor little rich boy, plucky poor girl. But when we got to the desert island and like the drugging, like remember there was like a blow dart on like the London Bridge, and then they like come. Okay, so let's keep going.
I forgot they travel all over the place.
Yeah,
too.
they're just bouncing around. It was
oh my god,
quite enjoyable television. Okay, this one was very simple to me, which is one is wounded or sick, and the other has to play nursemaid.
Yeah,
healer. There's never been a better nurse you back in your little bunker.
In your white sheeted bunker. Yeah. I'm gonna nurse you back to health by deflowering you. I mean, it's the best.
Yeah, I'm going to deflower you to health.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some elements of the trope that have come up that we haven't discussed yet?
I mean, look, the thing is, K-dramas, they love their zombie apocalypses. zombies. And that is a great forced proximity. So that happens in Happiness, which is also Friends to Lovers, by the way. So Friends to Lovers. No, it's Friends to Lovers, fake relationship.
Yes.
Forced proximity with zombies.
That was like, you pull those out of the hat. Like, and
yeah,
you've got a good book there.
Yeah. And then All of Us Are Dead, which All of Us Are Dead is also Friends to Lovers.
Yep. And forced proximity because you're stuck in a high school. Because you're also like with that quarantined off environment.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And then, which we mentioned this a little bit earlier because Suspicious Partner falls in this, but kind of, we have to be roommates, which is like a very cool case, which I feel like anytime you have, I feel like it's a little bit more unique to K-dramas just because I think like the housing situation naturally like, pits people needing roommates or whatever. But I want to give a shout out to Roommates of Poonduck 304 because the same thing. They're complete strangers who, through kind of like a weird coincidence, end up being roommates. And then they fall in love. And they're also kind of like enemies to lovers at first. Oh, and then it's boss-employee relationship as well. So it's a whole bunch of stuff as well. It's really good.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it, but only okay. And then, kind of like expanding out from even the roommates is just like the neighborhood, right? Like you're in the neighborhood. Right. And I tend to do this a lot too. But Our Blues has this very well, especially with like, we've got like a Romeo and Juliet situation where like, it's like two former best friends, men who through a series of unfortunate events have become mortal enemies. They live in the same building. They were like childhood best friends, now hate each other. They have a son and a daughter who are like number 1 and number 2 in the high school, like very gifted. Those kids fall in love and have a teen pregnancy. And they're like one of the main threads of the book. So that's a very cute
drama.
Yeah, drama. And then Reply 1988, like all the drama of like the love of young love back and adult love backdropped against an alien soul in the 1980s and early 1990s.
Can you think of any others? I feel like we did a pretty good list.
Yeah, I think that these are fun. We didn't get into like any space opera stuff. We didn't get into any like super paranormal. I was thinking about, like the...
Oh, Goblin.
Yeah, Goblin does a good... I mean, that's a very good one because they've got, like, they're kind of bound through, like, a destiny and then in the home together. I think the Fox Speed from My Roommate is a Gumio is a very simple one that, like, keeps you having to be stuck together. Like, you got the thing I need and it's in you.
Yeah, and you can't be around, like, any men. It's wild. It is there, and I do love that. I love that. I did like that drama. It wasn't, like, my favorite or anything, but I did like it because it felt like there were a lot of rules. And sometimes that's kind of neat to like, okay, these are the rules of this world, this drama, and but it always led to like she couldn't eat chicken, and she like loves chicken, and so there was like hilarious videos or montages of her like dreaming about chicken because she just wanted.
That's a question. So this is but we're wrapping up. But here's a question.
Yeah.
What's happening? Remember there was going to be the drama that was something where a character became a piece of fried chicken?
Yeah, what? I thought about that the other day. I'm like, where's that drama?
Because it was supposed to come out this year. The sentient piece of fried chicken.
I mean, we read it. Like, we're not crazy.
No, we're not crazy. Somebody asked me. That's why I thought of it. They're like, what happened to the fried chicken? I was like, I don't know. So.
I will say that drama called, like, Behind Your Touch or the one where, like, she gets people, like, she knows people's thoughts or something if she touches their butt. And apparently people like it. Like, it's not as crazy as I think it sounds. Eamon Key is the male lead from Because This Is My First Life, but I think it sounds pretty off the wall.
I think it sounds awesome.
I mean, apparently people are liking it, so it's not... Yeah, apparently people are liking it.
Well, let's wrap it up, and then we'll go, and I'm going to give her chicken.
We'll go. Well, I mean, look, that was fun, and I would be down to talk about more tropes in the future. We got to think of like more that we want to investigate. Forced proximity is so, I cannot say that.
I feel like it's like
I've struggled.
It's the one that like you're always, it's never going to be by itself because it doesn't make any sense by itself, but you pair it with another trope and then it makes that trope 10 times better.
It's like delicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's like the tequila
we'll talk
shot
about more
for that trope.
Ooh, there you go. There you go.
There you go.
Good one. Yeah, I'm sure Amy will have tropes she wants to talk about, and if there is a trope you want us to talk about, let us know, and we'll do a deep dive on it.
All right. Well, as always, a pleasure, and I hope Amy's back to school night was fantastic.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Annyeong!
Annyeong!
감사합니다. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!